How are you? Hey. How are y'all today? So I know you're probably like, where is she? My freaking thing was glitching. It wouldn't let me go live. I had a video on there and it was like glitching. So sorry for my tardiness, guys, but I'm excited to see you guys. As y'all know, on Thursdays we come on here at 7:15 and talk about herpes simplex virus. We talk about different things. This is your ability to ask questions, a question and answer area, and things like that. So I always want you to know you can come on here on Thursdays at 7:15 for you to ask any questions or just simply learn about herpes. This is for anyone, men, women, people who have the virus, who do not have the virus, and you have the ability to learn about the virus. I think these are going to be very, very beneficial because at the end of the day, many people do not understand herpes. The information is so vague. Like what I find online, you may not find online, or what you find online, I may not find online. That kind of happened today, where I talked about, if you looked at my page, I talked about a unprotected sex with a woman who has herpes and a man who do not have herpes, that the transmission rate was 4%. I talked to one of my herpes activists and he was like, it's higher than that. And he told me it's higher to like, if it's genital, it can be up to 20%. If it's oral, it can be up to 10. Well, if it's type 1, it's up to 10. If it's genital, it's up to 20. But this thing is, I did not see this information. The information I found was in 2012, and the information he found, which was a research, it was more of a research situation than his was in 2014. So that's the only thing like I really want you guys to understand when you're looking at herpes and things like that. It's so hard to find information. The information is not across the board. So I always tell you guys, make sure you look on CDC, American Sexual Association, before sex play. It's a really good one as well. Or stdproject.com as well. You can look at those and it give you information, but the information you find there, you'll go onto WebMD or Med or all these other places and you'll find different information. If you're going into, looking to research, people did research, you'll find even more information because their information was more tailored and things like that. I do today. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is different for me. Like this is so different for me, but I like it. I think it's different. So thank you very much. It was like out of comfort zone. So this is a big different for me, but I like it. It's cute. Because I hate the internet information, especially the diets there are. Man, let's not talk about them diets. So my whole thing is, it's really, the internet is the internet. We are in a time of good information and bad information. And we're also in a time where anybody can put information. Anybody can be an expert. Anybody can write whatever they write. Anybody can do research to this point and document it as research. People can edit stuff. So it's just very hard. The only thing I would tell anybody who's looking up research for herpes, look for the information across the board that is similar. And when you get to information that's kind of vague, just look for different sources that the stuff is kind of close. You're not going to always find all the information the same. For example, most of you guys, if you look at the information, they say 1 out of 6 individuals have herpes. Some will find 1 out of 4 have herpes. If you know that information is kind of old, so really it could be 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3 now. But as we know, we're always a year or 2 behind with the STD rates. Okay. Also, with herpes, it's a little bit more behind compared to gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, things like that, because they're constantly keeping information on that, and syphilis. They're constantly keeping information on those things. But herpes is kind of like on the back skirts a little bit. So our information is kind of like way backdated compared to many others. But if you do look at, the most recent STD rates, it'll let you know something about herpes, but it won't share as much if it do with gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, and syphilis. Okay. Those things are on a radar because they're causing a lot of issues. As we know, gonorrhea is getting to a point where it's getting non-resistant to the medicine. So they're really they're really paying attention to that, because honestly, guys, soon enough, gonorrhea is going to be uncurable. And that is really scary, because at the end of the day, gonorrhea can cause some serious issues. It can cause you to get to a point where, a man is sterile, or it causes a woman to dang near lose, she can lose a child, and things like that, or can't have children at all. And it also can cause some other issues, but that is just why they're like really honing in on gonorrhea, chlamydia. Number one, because they're silent and they're very, very common, but they cause issues. And HIV, as we know, because if a person's not taking care of themselves, things of that nature, that can pass the virus. Also, it can advance into AIDS. As we know, it can kill you. HIV do not kill you. It can if you're not taking care of yourself. Okay, it happens. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's rare, but it happens. But with all the information we have now, all the upcoming stuff that's coming up, all the research that they have put into HIV now, you shouldn't. It's so many resources, a lot of free resources. So if you know anybody who has HIV, or just been exposed, make sure you encourage them to take advantage of all the resources that's given to them. They have housing, they have medical assistance. They have, even with your medicine, stuff for doctor's appointments, you're offered a counselor or a case manager, things of that nature. Even though that's not offered for you if you got gonorrhea, chlamydia, or even herpes, just for HIV they go an extra mile. It's just because the community have done what they needed to do to like rally behind it and putting their money into it for it to change. With that being said, I just want us to understand information is something. It's something. You're right. Medical studies are great reads, but they're very look. When I went to school, I had to read all this stuff, and I had to do like different projects on it and dissect it. When you get into the statistics and all that stuff, because I had a statistics class as well, it'll make you crazy. But I would tell anybody who read medical studies to like really read the first piece. It lets you know who is included. I want y'all to know most of the information that is given is for heterosexual relationships. The information pertaining to herpes, and I'll say this, I won't consider like, HIV, they're including homosexuals and things of that nature, but I'll talk for herpes. Herpes, we do not have any set information pertaining to homosexuality, like homosexuals at all, or transsexuals, or any of that. So my whole thing, and I'm sticking to my individuals who are homosexuals, whatever. Okay, and I want you to understand, just understand what can happen for you. Just because you're with a woman does not mean you cannot pass the virus. So you know your transmission rate. If you're having an outbreak, she can get it orally. Also making sure you're being careful with toys, things like that, making sure they're being sanitary. Many people don't think you can get anything from toys, but herpes, and I learned this from an infection disease director, that herpes can be passed through a toy. Okay, I did not know this information. I learned this came directly out the director mouth here in Atlanta. She told me a story about that. So with that being said, guys, that is possible with a toy. Many other things like cups, utensils, toilets, things like that, no, it can live on the surface, but it does not live on the surface long. But this young lady ended up using a toy after another young lady who was having an outbreak, which she was not aware of. As we know, that virus, like the herpes, has fluid. That fluid carries the virus. Okay, she inserts that into herself. Boom. Okay. That's where it opens up the door. Okay. So, I tell you, be careful with toys, make sure you get the toy cleaner, things like that. Please do not share toys. Now, if you are in a homosexual relationship, then I completely understand. But long as y'all are getting tested, things like that. But I will still say, if you have herpes and she does not, then I will tell you, don't share toys like that, things of that nature, just for the sake of that. So I just want to share that. Also for my young men, I just want you to understand, like, you are still at risk as well. And I will say this, most men are asymptomatic. So, you have to understand that your partner will probably never even realize that he has herpes. And you'll end up passing it orally. And as you know, it'll be anal for you. So I just tell you guys, no, we don't have any stats. So just when you read stats, read the stats for your sex, for what your identity is. Now, if you're transsexual, and somebody brought this up to me, but I'm sharing this with you guys because at the end of the day, I don't want, you as a community to feel like it's nothing for us. You're right. It is nothing for you guys. Like, And honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not even on the radar to look up that information for you guys. So it's just important for you to identify for what you're going to be. So if you get a sex change, then if you become a woman, then you need to look at the race as a woman. If you become a man, you look at the race because of a man. And that's pretty much it. Okay. So that's just to make that clear for my, individuals who are in that community. You still look off gender. Okay. You still have to base this, how to prevent yourself from passing or your transmission rate based off of that. But you also have to understand that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna put it like that. Just remember it's skin to skin contact, but there is just so much information that is not, especially for my individuals who are transsexual, is no information out here for you guys. And there's really no information for homosexuals at all. So I would just say, remember, it is skin to skin contact. You guys are engaging in a lot of oral sex, things of that nature. Just know if that person has a cold sore or anything like that, you can't pass it to them. They're kissing, you're kissing on that person, you passing them, things like that. So please just consider all of that. Okay. Consider all of that. Yes, I know a person who got HSV2 from her son using her got HSV2 from her son using her toothbrush. My whole thing, he had a cold sore in his mouth and she wasn't aware of it. And most people don't even know that HSV2, which is, and honestly, let's break these types down. I really don't like using the types because honestly, it doesn't make a difference. Types, they came up with these types like years ago to base like it's just like diabetes. Diabetes 1, diabetes 2, 1, you're born with, 1 that you can develop. So this one, they said type 1 is oral, type 2 is genital. As we know, herpes can be oral or genital. It can be either or. So I don't want everybody to get caught up in the types because I'm sure if anybody read, they're like, well, that's type 2. That's genital. How did they get it in their mouth? Okay, sweetie. All right. Yes, you can. So with that being said, a lot of people are probably looking at this like, how did she get HSV2 in the mouth? My whole thing is her son had somebody perform oral sex on her, on them, and things like that. Herpes do not affect hot tubs. That's not true. I'm going to tell you that. That's not true. That information is not true. Because if that was the case, then you're thinking about pools and all that other stuff. You know how many people have a virus if that was the case? And let's look at this on a bigger scale. If that was the case, CDC will be so much more concerned about herpes. I'm just being honest. They'll be way more concerned about it. If it was something just that simple. Not from tubs. Not from any of that. And you got to think about it. The water is scorching hot. What is living in scorching hot water? Not too much of anything. And this virus doesn't live on surfaces. This virus needs a host. The host is your nerve endings. And they enter through a mucous membrane. So this is a body thing. This is not a surface thing. Okay? I thank you for sharing that though. Because I mean, people read stuff like that all the time and they're getting freaked out all the time. But the virus does not live it don't live on surfaces. Like I said, it can, but it doesn't live long. It doesn't live long at all. It doesn't live long at all. Okay? But thank you so much for sharing that because so many people read so many things and they get freaked all out and things like that. But if that's the case, girl, nobody would get in a hot tub. Nobody would go to water slides and, Disney and all this other stuff. You got to look at the bigger picture there. If that was really the issue, my God, I don't think we would have hot tubs. Just being completely honest, just completely honest on that. But no. And honestly, I will also tell people when you do read articles like this and different things like that, I really want you guys to go back to the CDC website. I want you to go back to American Association. And if they don't state that stuff there, then this information is not always completely true. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that the CDC tell the whole truth all the time. I'm not saying that either. Not saying because they're leaving information out, but they tell you what's important. But if that was an issue and they knew that was a problem, they would state to you, hey, be careful with this, be careful with that, be careful with this. Okay. So that's just another way to kind of check the source. I always check the sources because like I said, everybody can write whatever they want to write. People can make up whatever they want to make up. But that's not common at all. Okay. But thank you for sharing it, sweetie. Thank you for sharing it. Anybody have any questions, concerns? Just know as I talk, I have no problem with answering any questions. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Any questions? Yeah. But I just wanted to break that type 1, type 2. Don't make a difference. Herpes is herpes. A lot of people are concerned about that because they want to know the transmission rate or all of that stuff like that. But honestly, guys, it's all the same. For 4.5 hours is what I read, but they may not want to alert the public. But yes, you're right. Fact check. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, absolutely. You got to fact check, but you found the time. Look at that. Where did, many people will never find that time. I never found that time. And I've been doing research. I never found that time. So for you to find that time, you and so many other people never found that time. So just imagine how many people may not know that. So the simple things like that, we have to really consider. If the information is given, the information needs to be given across the board. Why can you find it in one place and not another? You know what I mean? So that's another thing. Do you think there'll be a cure one day? Probably not. I'm just going to be completely honest. Probably not. I believe we'll have a vaccine. I think we're going to follow very much behind HIV. HIV got to a point where now they have, PrEP and things like that. So, this virus is tricky because it's on the nerve endings and it's controlled based off your nerves. So it's a little different. It's not the typical thing. I believe we'll get a vaccine because we already got a vaccine for herpes, y'all. We got a vaccine for chickenpox. Y'all get chickenpox shots and when you was a baby, you was getting chickenpox shot. That is herpes. Many people know about Mona. Mona is a kissing disease. That is herpes. Shingles is herpes, y'all. A lot of people don't know that. And since you don't know that, you're thinking like, oh, I don't ever have herpes. Everybody got herpes in their bodies already. We all do. So I feel like at the end of the day, I don't believe it will be a cure. I believe it will be a vaccine, just like they did for chickenpox and what they did for shingles and things like that, because that's already modeled. They already kind of did it. But like I said, we just have to do as a community, as just a people, period, to make them do the research and speed up the process for us to get a vaccine for this virus. Okay. But they already did it for shingles. They already did it for chickenpox. I feel like they did it for them. They can figure out a way to do it for this. It's just another strand. Mm-hmm. Anybody have any more questions? My grandmother's calling me, y'all. 1 second. Yes, grandma. You're not going anywhere. You have to go, okay? Grandma, you just talking. You ain't nowhere to go. I'm sorry with y'all. Okay, let me tell y'all something. At this time, my grandmother, she has dementia. So she's at a point where she's just talking. She's talking. She told me she's ready to go. She thinks she's leaving. I'm like, you ain't going nowhere, lady. And she's like, who you tell it ain't going nowhere? I'm ready to go. I'm like, you ain't going nowhere. She be getting me. Wow, I didn't know shingles was herpes. See? Most people don't know that, man. Shingles is deadly for elderly. Like, that's why they hurried up and got a vaccine, because literally shingles is killing people, because literally it can be like, if you see here, it'll be all the way down their back. It can be on their hips and all that stuff. It's so painful. Like, they say it's so painful and it's so bad and cause a whole lot of pain, so yeah. It's simple things like that, you just don't know. And when you don't know those things, you're thinking that they're not really doing anything, but they're doing stuff pertaining to the things that's a little bit more deadly. So when it's a little bit more deadly or it's like traumatic, then they'll try to go and they'll do things a little bit quicker, because truthfully, the CDC focus on things that kills people, truthfully, or causes other bodily harm. And right now, herpes just does not create that, or fully, I don't want to say this, I'll rephrase that. Herpes is not ongoingly creating other issues to the body. But I'm not going to lie, it's things that this virus can do over a long period of time, depending on your health conditions, your age, things of that nature. But it's not enough research to prove that's happening to more people who are living with the virus, because a lot of people with the virus are not having these issues. Okay? So it's a transmission of herpes from women to men without an outbreak and Unprotected sex is 4%. With suppression therapy is 50% reduction. With the protection is another 50% reduction. Hey, you shared the information, girl. You're not lying. You're not lying. Absolutely. Absolutely. What about the link between dementia? My whole thing, the information is not clear. It's not clear yet. It's not enough research behind it for them to move on it. So my whole thing is, you said, what about the link between? It's a link. So we got to figure out what's causing the link. It's so many things that call Alzheimer's. There's so many things that call dementia. My grandma does not have herpes. She has Alzheimer's and dementia. It's so many different things. She don't have strokes. Another thing, we realized that she had syphilis a long time ago, and that triggered a lot of her dementia and Alzheimer's. So I feel like a lot of these viruses do create issues, but they don't see it over a long period of time to prove that's the only thing when people have a lot of other health issues. As we know, most people who have Alzheimer's or dementia have so many other things going on. So they're not just going to pick out herpes out of all the other health conditions. That's kind of like alerting them that could have caused. It's so many things can cause that. So that will require so much more research pertaining to individuals who have herpes. And as we know, that will have to go down to the elderly. Now we got to deal with all the elderly people now who have herpes. Oh, where they have herpes, they have dementia. Now you got to look at their component of, okay, they just have herpes. How did they get dementia? And then you got to study them and all that stuff like that. And I'm going to be honest, they're not really studying elderly people that much, pertaining to herpes anyway. So, and they look at Alzheimer's and dementia on a whole nother level. So I feel like, yes, that information is there, but it's just not enough. And I feel like that is why we have to push them to say, look, it's a link here. Let's do more research to figure out what this link is. And, if that's the case, what are we going to do to prevent individuals who have herpes to get Alzheimer's and dementia? Like, what are we going to do? But if we're not pushing it and just talking about it and not getting to the right people to do something about it, it's just talking. Like, they got to get out here, find some people to get into a research group and get the work done. That's just pretty much it. And we know research takes forever. It does just not happen over time. It's a long period of time. And they got to do the write-up and everything like that. And then present it and all. I want us to understand finding a cure or even doing research doesn't happen overnight. It seems that way because we watch the news. But overall, the CDC been working on stuff for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Even if you look up information for HIV, you'll hear one thing about HIV in like 2-3 weeks. It seems like it's different, or they're on advance, or they'll come back and say, oh no, that wasn't completely true. We looked at this, we looked at another subject, we used different numbers, or we did a different dosage. It's so much to research. It's like research ain't nothing but manipulating the situation to see what happens, or looking at different situations to kind of figure out what happened. So it's just like, it's going to have to require a lot. I don't really deal with that one yet because it's just not enough information. I was just talking to another man about that, about the Alzheimer's and dementia, but the information is so vague that it's just like, we need more information about that. But that's, as a community, we got to do more to force them to give us more information and do research on it so we can see if that's a connection there and how we can prevent that from happening. I think government doesn't want to don't want to do a cure for any disease because they rather have money off of us. My whole thing is that sound good. But at the end of the day, we got to realize these viruses are not easy thing to figure out. I know people who are into science and all this stuff, man. This stuff is not what it seems. Like, it's easy to make a statement like that, but you're not in there trying to figure out why a person got cancer. You're not trying to figure out why their body is being attacked and the other one is not. Like, this virus can do one thing to your body and another person don't affect them at all. So what are we going to do overall to benefit all people and not just one group of people? And I think that's something we got to consider. Like, when you're trying to come up with a cure, you're trying to find something that's going to work for the masses, not work for a group. Like, you can't focus on one group. You're trying to find something that works for everybody. And let's be honest, a lot of things are resistant to some people's body because they got different ailments, or their body is just not going to take it, or they're allergic to certain things. So I'm not saying that it's not because of that, but you got to look at it the overall from a medical standpoint. We are all different. We can go in with the same, just for example, we can both go in with the flu. Literally. We can have the same symptoms, but you can be 10 times worse than me. For what reason? I don't know. What if you have other situations going on? You have other immune diseases. I don't have any immune diseases. I'm pretty much healthy. I don't really have any issues, things like that. So I feel like we got to also consider everything that can be going on with another person's body that they're aware of or not aware of. And as health industry, you have to consider what's going to help the masses, just not one or two people or a small group of people. They don't look at small groups. They look at the masses. And when you think about the masses, sometimes it's just like, I don't know what to do. We can't find anything that works for everybody. So I used to feel like that. I used to think like that too, but I had to change my perspective, and just learning things about research and things like that. It's just not as easy as it sounds. And I wish it was, but it's really not. I think they do have something for every disease, but a cure would be, because it makes the government money, anything keeps, okay, running, making money. It's a shame. I feel like at the end of the day, I did do some research on the pharmaceutical companies, things like that. But my whole thing is, we got to be honest. Who takes the drugs? Like, they can't sell you something that you don't take. And sadly to say, it's things I hear that is beneficial. So we're talking about money all the time, but it's sadly to say it's some people who need this medicine. So if we keep focused on the money piece and don't accept that some people really need this medicine and has saved lives, then it's bigger than money, guys. I know y'all want to think about the money piece, and yes, we live in a greedy country, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to the nit and the grit, it's really deeper than money. It is deeper than money. These viruses are different. They function different. That medicine is to help you. Some of that medicine is bull crap. I'm going to be honest. Some of that medicine is straight bull. And then some of that medicine is saving lives. Completely. It's people, I know individuals who woke up one day and their body was totally different, and their medicine is keeping them alive until the doctors figure out what the heck is going on with them. So as much as we talk about the money piece, we also got to consider how many lives has been changed because they create some medicine. So that's just my piece on it. I used to feel just like you feel, so I'm not saying anything different. I used to feel the exact same way. But when you really get to the other side of the fence and start understanding how they function and realize it's people who do research and really care about research and really going over and beyond, and the fights they have to go through to prove that this stuff is real. They don't want to come out and say, oh, this is going to be the case, and literally people are dying left and right. Like, it's so much to it. It takes time. It takes absolute time. But I feel like it's possible if you're talking about the money, then we got to put money into things to happen. If we want cures, then stop worrying about the government money. And then we put our money together and we do what we need to do and support the scientists to do the work. But sadly to say, people don't want to do that. So I feel like at the end of the day, if you want the government to do it, if they won't do it, we all have jobs. We can do campaigns. We can do different things like that. And as a people, we can make a difference and get to the people who can do the work for us and say, you know what? Y'all don't want to fund it because y'all worrying about other things. Let us fund it and y'all do what we need you to do. So I feel like sometimes if you really want to see change, you have to fund the change. You can't expect the government to fund the change. They're trying to run a whole country and make sure we don't blow up and die. We're trying to make sure people have jobs. We're trying to make sure people have health. It's so much stuff that's going on. There's money going every which type of way. So it's crazy that we want them to do so much, but then we want them to do this and we want them to do that. We want them to do something. Come on, y'all. We got to consider that money got to go everywhere. So if we want to see some change in certain areas, then we got to be the ones to put the money in it to see the change where it's more focused money going into things that we want. We can do that. Nobody's stopping us from getting things together. There's many rare conditions out there that people are doing what they need to do to get the money into it. And they're funding and they're doing races and they're doing all that they can do. And now they're finally starting to get the attention they need because they funded it on their own. Okay. This is interesting that it's all in the nervous system. I know, right? That's the interesting part to me too, that isn't in the nervous system. I think that is just like the most complex part of our body to me. I think it's like so complex because it fires off everything for us. And it's based off our emotions, based off our thoughts. It's so much to it. Yeah. And I think that's another reason why it's a little complex too, because it's in your nervous system. So it's interesting. When I learned that, I was like, oh my God, it's crazy. Why do you think herpes affect people don't stand together? Seems like they're not, man. I don't know why people who have herpes, the herpes community, do not stand together. Because I'm going to tell you my outlook after doing this for 5 years. Okay, I did this like 2 years without anybody knowing. I was in support groups. And then for the last 3 years, I've been out publicly doing it. I realized that some people truly do not want to help our community. They want to keep our community bound. And it's so crazy. It's like some people are like feeding off of people feeling down and out, or feeling like they need them. And it's sad because there's many activists who get out here and, like me and Rich and Janelle, who has the SCD project, and so many others who are out here. We're all trying to share. And as you see, any of us, we try to share the stuff across the board because we come in contact with each other. We all want y'all to hear the same things. But then you got people who have secret groups, and we'll go into those groups and they get mad at us because we're trying to display real information and free people and get people to a point where they're able to accept it and move on until we get to that point. Even to a point where I have Mr. Rich, I had him on. He did the vaccine for herpes when the young man, the scientist who was around before he died from a rare condition, he did it. He was a part of it, and he said it really worked. But he said now we post about the campaign, and he can barely get anybody to do it. It's sad because he's a person who can testify for what happened. He was there. He know what happened, and nobody want to back him. And I feel like, sadly to say, some people just want to stay in their mess. They say they want change, but they don't want to do anything for change. They want everybody else to do all the work, and they benefit. I'm sorry, for the herpes community, it's not going to work like that. If you want us to have change, we're going to have to link together, all millions of us across the globe, and say, look, it's time for change for us. And that's what happened with HIV. That's what happened with AIDS. If you've seen this massive change, people just started linking together if they had it, if they did not have it. And so we're going to do everything in our might. We're going to put our money together. We're going to march. We're going to become activists. I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I want to become a senator. I'm going to become, a legislator. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. I'm going to create groups. Whatever I need to do, I'm create non-profit organizations. They go to the absolute extreme to get what they needed. And sadly to say, our people in this herpes community, and I'm not talking about race, I'm just talking about people as general in this herpes community, is not willing to do the work. That's why we do not see a lot that we need. We're lacking resources. We're lacking knowledge. That sucks to go to the doctor and tell you, oh, here's some medicine and have a good day. They don't tell you how to disclose. They don't tell you what an outbreak may look like. They don't tell you any other options you have in the store. They don't tell you any support groups you can go to, or if you go talk to a counselor. They don't offer you crap. Now, there's some doctors who are really awesome. I thank God for good doctors and good nurses, but everybody's not getting that experience. And overall, a lot of them just don't have no compassion for it because they go to school and they say it's no big deal. Focus on things that's killing people. Truthfully, focus on the things that's serious. And I truly do think this is serious. I think this creates a lot of mental disorders and so many other things. But we as a community have to do the work to push them, to show them that, and show them our lives and be transparent. And sadly to say, a lot of people are not even willing to, risk themselves to talk about it. And I'm so proud of everybody who even just got on here and started talking about things, because it's just so many people who just do not want to talk about it. These are real conversations. And if we want to see change, we're going to have to talk about it publicly to get it done. And some of us are going to have to be put on the chopping board for the sake of all. And some people don't want to take the risk. They just want the benefits. And you getting the benefits requires somebody got to dang near die for it. Somebody got to die for it. Somebody got to dang near put their ego and pride to the side and get called all types of names for the sake of you, when you could support them 100%. It's more together. Okay? That's just my stand on it. I see certain celebrities that are rumored but never stand up. It's sad. Truthfully, we got to understand it's a culture. My whole thing is herpes is created as you're being promiscuous and you're being nasty and all these things. And I feel like, honestly, we got to understand celebrities have an image. They have PR people who tell them not to do certain things, not to be attached to negative stigmas, not to be attached to negative things. It can hurt your brand. All this stuff. I don't think it's that they don't want to stand up for it. It's just at the end of the day, they're concerned about how they're going to eat. They don't want anything that's going to make them look in a negative light and lose fans. People feel some type of way about herpes. If I say the herpes word first, get freaked out. I say HSV, people are a little bit more calm. But herpes, oh my God, people have like conniption fits. It's absolutely crazy. The word is just so taboo. It's so taboo. It's crazy because there's no information behind it. I can say HIV. We can sit here and talk about HIV. I can go get tested. I can post my test results. I can do all that. And people are like, yeah, girl, you better do it. And then I talk about herpes. They're like, ooh, what you talking about that for? That's crazy. And you want to know what changed? HIV, they just made sure the information was in our face, in our face, in our face. And it's the same thing that's going to have to happen with herpes. That we're so used to hearing about herpes, gonorrhea, chlamydia. We're so used to hearing about everything that now we're just used to hearing it and we're very aware and we can talk about it. But until we break that barrier of just educating each other and talking about it, we're going to have a struggle. We're going to have a struggle. Do you think that there would be a wide variety of awareness with people with herpes like it would with HIV and AIDS? I kind of just talked about that. It's going to be our work, not theirs. Like, it's possible, but you know how much work HIV and AIDS went into to where they are today? These are decades and decades and decades of work. I was not even born when they were doing work. So with that being said, that means we got a lot to do. And we got to rally together and do it. Not even just people with herpes. You got to people who not with herpes who have resources. We got to use our resources well. And sadly to say, at this point, it's just so hard to even get people to even want to talk about it. It's difficult. It's difficult. Some people may be ashamed to speak up on herpes because of what others may think. And that's the sad part. So many people worry about what people think so much. But sadly to say, half of the world is struggling with it. You know how many people are struggling with this thing and literally wonder why they're not in relationships, or their relationships are just all like messed up, or, you know, or she seems always depressed. It ain't because of other things. It be simple things like this that really is taking people out. It's people killing themselves about this, man. You right, sex sells, honey. It's good. Sex is selling, but at the end of the day, they're not explaining the risk of sex. So that's why I'm even doing these, that we can talk about things like this, because at the end of the day, sex is a risky thing and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. They want to talk about have sex is great. Y'all remember back in the day when we used to watch MTV and they used to like show condoms or, you know, wrap it up. Guys, we don't even have a campaign like that anymore. Nobody talks about wrapping it up. All we do is see people have sex. That is it. You don't see not a condom in sight. So before people would talk about condoms, even though people still wasn't using condoms, it's just crazy. A lot of people out here talk about there is a cure for HSV. Is it true? Not that I know of. Because that was the case, I want it. My whole thing, I'll tell you this. I'm gonna rephrase this. It's many things out here that can get your body to a point where this virus is not detectable. Just the same way with HIV. HIV have figured out a way that if a person who have HIV do what they need to do pertaining to whatever their doctor tells them to do, they can be undetectable and they will not pass the virus. So I feel like same way, it's certain things that you can do using herbs, different things like that. They can get to a point where this virus is undetectable. Who says it's out your body? No. Same thing with HIV. It's not out their body. It's just undetectable. And when it's not undetectable, they can't, you know, can't do nothing about it. The virus is not doing anything. It's dormant. Almost 40 years for HIV community to get it. That's what I'm saying. 40 years, guys. I'm not even 40. I'm only 29. Okay? 29. And I just started 5 years ago. I mean, come on. We got a lot of work to do. Because it's many people who still talk about herpes, but many of the people start falling off over the years. It's not like people are staying consistently talking about it over time. Like you'll see people at a height and they just kind of fall off. And they'll be at that height and they just fall off. And they'll be at that height and just fall off. Like we can't fall off. We got to keep going over again. Like we got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And hopefully, you know, other people have that energy or have the guts and the bravery and the boldness to stand up with us, the people who are doing it, and say, you know what, I want to help you. You know, I want to assist you. What can I do? Can I share some posts? Can I share your videos? Can I do something? And that's simple things that we can do, guys. Nobody's telling you to sit here and argue with people about herpes and the stigma. But I am challenging you that if you know enough about herpes to correct the myths, to correct the information, tell the whole truth. You know, because sadly to say, people are thinking things is not true. Like most people think cold sores and fever blisters is not herpes. Guys, yes it is. And that's the sad part. People don't know that. And they will argue that, well, I had cold sore and fever blisters since I was a child. I'm sorry. Your mama kissed you and gave it to you. That's it. You know, so with that being said, it's like we have to do our due diligence with individuals who have the virus and people who do not have the virus to constantly educate people when they're wrong. We'll do it with HIV. We'll do it with gonorrhea. We'll do it with chlamydia. We'll do it with diabetes. We're going to do it with breast cancer. We'll do it with everything. Why is herpes being mistreated, y'all? We have to do our due diligence. Things change when we do it. The government is not going to do that. We have to do our due diligence to educate each other and making sure all our communities are educated, because we're mixing and matching. Everybody's dipping and dabbing in different cultures and different things like that. And if I know from my culture certain things and your culture doesn't know things, then okay, now we're at risk because you're aware, I'm aware, and you're not aware. And I'm a strong believer, if I know and you don't know, I don't know nothing. Like, we both got to be on the same playing field when it comes to information. If not, we're so unequal. Like, somebody can get hurt because one knows something and the other one don't. But then that what comes into conversations and relationships, or just getting to know people. Like, what do you know about STDs? You will come to learn that many people have been having sex most of their lives and don't know half of what they need to know about sex or even about their genitals. It's interesting, but we're having sex but not fully aware of what your genitals look like. I'm not going to lie. You need to get in the mirror and look at it. Okay. You need to know what it is. You need to know the name of the different parts. You need to know certain things. And sadly to say, people are having sex, but they don't know this stuff. They don't know it. And we don't know the risk behind it, other than you'll get an STD and you'll get pregnant. Okay. What STDs and what can these STDs do to your body? What is the long-term effects of these STDs, even if they're treatable? Okay. Most of the ones that's treatable, guys, are very dangerous. And if most of those, you won't even know you have it. So you don't have it for a long period of time and it can mess your body up. Okay. The black community stunts this disease and so many people have it in there. Don't even know it. Yep. They say about 80% of people have herpes and don't know, genital herpes and don't know it. And as we know, genital can come from oral sex, you know. So with that being said, guys, like, I just feel like the numbers across the board, as much as, you know, we pick out races and all that stuff, it doesn't matter to me at this moment. What matters to me is that we understand that people are being affected and we all feel the same way. We may not look the same, but we all feel the same way. We feel hopeless. We feel disgusting. We feel nasty. We feel like our lives are over. We all feel the same way, despite what culture we come from. But I feel like we got to all come together and to assist each other and help each other and use each other resources. A lot of people, I meet so many people who are health industry. I mean, meet people who do HIPAA. I know lawyers. I know, you know, all these people who have herpes. Now, why are we not using our resources? We got everything we need within our community and nobody's doing, like, we're not sitting down together and say, okay, who can do what? Like, what can we do? Even if you don't want to put your job in a line, okay, shift it to somebody else and we're going to do this thing. We're not doing it. Because I remember to wrap it up. Yes, man, that campaign was on point. We need to bring that campaign back. I ain't gonna lie, man. I think I may want to bring that campaign back. That Wrap It Up campaign. And properly teach them how to put on condoms. Because boys do not know how to put on condoms. Men do not know how to put on condoms. Yes, I tried to tell the homosexual guys that his cold sore was herpes. And he got so mad. I told him to look it up and see for himself. You know, true. You know, he just is not educated. And it's not that he's mad. He just don't understand it. And he wouldn't dare want to hear that he has herpes. That's a scary thing to hear. That herpes word scare him. Cold sores didn't scare him. Sadly say, we've been hearing about cold sores. Y'all want to know products that are used for cold sores? Blistex, Carmax, all of these things that we've been using our whole lives. And they say cold sores on it. And we didn't realize those products were for herpes. Crazy, right? They use soft words to hide the information. I feel like, be blunt, put it out there, say herpes on stuff so people can really know what they're getting and what it's for. Okay? Just saying. Just saying. Now even Blistex and Carmex don't even have cold sores. I think they took it off. Because before it was cold sores and flea was on the packages for so long. And I don't think that's on there. I think they say chapped lips or dry lips on there now. But those products do help you if you have any oral. I'm sorry, I'm stuck myself in the nose, but anything on your mouth. It'll help it dry it out. Okay. Anybody got any more questions as we about to wrap up? We're at 8:04. So as we get to wrap up, anybody have any quick questions? Anyone? While y'all guys get your questions together, I want to tell y'all thank you so much for getting on to the Thursday talk with the STD Life Coach, Police Bobby. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys who got on, who have the virus, who do not have the virus. I truly appreciate everybody who talked. I appreciate everybody who gave information. You just don't know how many people you have helped. Many people watch these. As you know, this will be on here for 24 hours, but just give you guys an opportunity, people to come and look at it and hear this information, and you just don't know how much you're going to help somebody else. So I want to appreciate for that. My individuals who have herpes, or you don't. I'm having an Overcoming Gathering conference in Atlanta. It'll be February 22nd and 23rd, where you have an opportunity to do a private session with me, or simply just come to the educational day where I will have somebody from, in the community who is really heavily involved with STDs or anything in your community, so you can just know what's going on in your community pertaining to STDs. And then I will speak to you guys, and then we'll learn how to disclose, and have a Q&A session as well. But I really want on this tour, my whole goal is to teach you guys how to disclose and to get the resources in your community, because a lot of you guys are in your community and have no clue where to go to get tested, have no clue who is the director of infectious disease, you have no clue who the director of the STDs, like you don't know any of these things, and you don't know where to find this information. So it hurts you when you don't know. Just like they do commercials for cigarettes, they can do the same for herpes. You don't even see commercials for HIV anymore. They do have HIV ones, but it's PrEP now. It's under PrEP. It's PrEP. So right now they're pushing PrEP. They do campaigns, but these campaigns are not long term. You know what I mean? Like we see, even with the cigarettes, those are not long term. They run them for a short period of time. Like, it's running for a period of time. They kind of make an impact, but it's not like a regular commercial. So I think it'll be cool just to have a regular commercial that's always talking about herpes, or always talking about HIV, or always talking about safe sex. But that will require, marketing money, somebody backing that are constantly running this stuff on TV. But I feel like social media wise, it's not as expensive to keep things running. That's what I do now. I try to do ads more often, that more people can get exposed to herpes and the information of herpes. But at the end of the day, on a big scale, running it on television can get very, very expensive over time, and you just have to get some heavy backing to pay for it. I think it's possible, and it can be pitched, but most campaigns are not long term. They're not long term. They're short term, just to kind of make a mark at the moment. Just like to wrap it up, it was for a short period of time. So that's a good thing, girl. Thank you for sharing. But I love you guys dearly, dearly, dearly. Got to get ready for another meeting. But just know that we'll be back here on Thursday at 7:15. I jump onto my Instagram, not my Instagram, but my YouTube channel on Fridays at 8. So if you want to come on talk there, my YouTube is so different because my following is a little bit bigger on my YouTube. So the questions get really, really interesting. And I typically talk about different things there. What I talk about here is more of a kind of, we kind of flow, and I let you guys ask questions, because a lot of people on my channel, like on my page, don't have herpes, so I give you guys this open dialogue. But the people on my YouTube, they have herpes, so we really dig into like issues pertaining to us, or answering questions, or people give me situations. I enjoyed the live session when you will do another YouTube live. Oh yeah, I'm doing another YouTube live tomorrow at 8. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So that's my goal, is to always do these so you guys can just ask questions. Sometimes you just have a question, so you got an opportunity to ask questions. As y'all know, I do offer private sessions with you guys. I also interpret your test results. Guys, I tell y'all, understand them test results can literally be the death of you sometimes. You don't know if you got the virus or not. I have got pretty good at reading the test results. So with that being said, if you ever need help with that, let me know. I do offer a session for that, where you send me your test result, and then we do a 15-minute session where I break everything down, answer any questions that you have, and then I have other sessions as well, couple sessions, in-person sessions if you're in Atlanta, different things like that. So I am a life coach, so I do offer, those services to you for affordable price, so we can get that one-on-one that you need. So you have that option. So make sure you get your ticket if you're in Atlanta. Know that I'm going to North Carolina, I'm going to Alabama, I'm going to New Orleans, I'm going to Houston, I'm going to Tampa, and I'm going to Maryland. So if you're not in the Atlanta area, don't feel bad. I will be close to you as possible. I will be starting on the Southeast this year. And if I come to your city, just know I will let you know, because I look to do some other speaking engagements or some tours and things like that with other people. And I may end up, in California. I may end up, in Chicago. I may end up somewhere else. And y'all know I'm going to set something up that I can meet you guys while I am there. So with that being said, guys, please share me with other people. If you know anybody who's dealing with this, tell them to follow my page. If they're not comfortable, let them follow YouTube. Let them get the information. If somebody think they just want to be educated about herpes, follow me on YouTube. I have over 209 videos on herpes. Been doing it for a while, so my goal is to get to 400 videos this year, and I think it's very possible because I have so much I want to talk about. So that's that, guys. So see you later. See y'all tomorrow on my YouTube. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.